Today we're going to be taking a look at a 2023 Toyota Camry LE Hybrid. Let's get started. This year there's not a whole lot of things that Toyota added to the Camry. All we got was a couple of new color options. It's been heavily rumored that later this year for the 2024 model year, Toyota is going to be redesigning the Camry, so this is probably going to be the last model year of this generation. So if you are a fan of this style, this is going to be your last chance to get one. Under the hood, we have a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine, which combined with the hybrid batteries, gives this one here about 208 horsepower. Average miles per gallon is going to be 52, that's 51 in the city and 53 on the highway. The 2023 Camry LE Hybrid starts at $28,080. This one here as spec'd is $30,272. In this overview, we're going to go over the exterior and then we're going to jump inside and talk about some of the features. As usual, we're going to start in the front of the car, but let's briefly mention the paint color on this Camry Hybrid. This is Toyota's Supersonic Red, which is something that they call one of their special colors. This is going to be a $425 upcharge from the factory to get this paint color. In the front, we have a blue Toyota emblem to signify that this is a Toyota hybrid, and off to the side, connecting to our headlights, we have this black plastic trim piece, which is fully open for some airflow to get into the engine bay. Right below the Toyota emblem, we have our front grille, which is made up of these horizontal lines going across the front of the Camry, and this is very different than what we see on the SE, XSE, and TRD models of the Camry, which have more of an aggressive sports-style honeycomb grille. Off to the side, we have our LED headlights with LED daytime running lights built in. The front hood also has some distinct body lines, each one of which raises up the hood a little bit more as you get towards the center. Moving on to wheels and tires, we have these 16-inch steel wheels with plastic covers on them, and the tire size here is 205/65R16. Meanwhile, some of the other Camry hybrid trim levels like the SE, XSE, and XLE can only achieve 46 miles per gallon. The LE Hybrid can achieve 52, and that's mainly due to this wheel and tire setup here. Right behind those tires, this one here came equipped with these mudguards which go behind each wheel, and that's a $129 factory option. Moving on to the side of the Camry Hybrid, we have two very distinct body lines here. One is going to stretch from the bottom of the front wheel to the top of the rear wheel, and the other one follows the side of the car, stretching across the door handles. The door handles do have keyless entry. The smart key system is standard on the LE Hybrid, so we have these lines right here which can lock the car, and if we want to unlock it, we just have to place our hand on the handle. The side mirror is going to be color matched to the body of the car. It does not have a turn signal indicator built in, and it also doesn't have blind spot monitors on it. If you do want blind spot monitors on your LE Hybrid Camry, that's going to be a $680 factory option. And speaking of factory options, this one here also didn't come with the moonroof from the factory. If you do want that, it's an $870 option. The windows here have this chrome trimming going all around the perimeter, and between the front and rear windows, we have some black plastic. Behind the rear door of the driver's side, we have our fuel door, which does just take regular 87 octane gas. And to open up this fuel door, you're going to have to go in the cabin and push one of the buttons there. Moving on to the rear of the Camry Hybrid, at the very top, we have a shark fin antenna, and then we have our trunk. The LE and the XLE do not get any type of spoiler. That's something that's going to be reserved for the SE and the XSE models. Back here, we also have our blue Toyota emblem to tell us that it's a hybrid. Right under that, it spells out Camry for us letter by letter, and right underneath that M in Camry is our rear view camera. Off to the side, we have LE hybrid badging. Our taillights are also back here, and at the very bottom, we have just this little piece of black plastic for a diffuser. It's not like an SE XSE model, which has a much nicer looking diffuser, but we have a single exhaust tip down at the bottom there and some red reflectors on this black piece. There's three different ways that we can open up the trunk in the Camry Hybrid here. The first way is going to be by pushing a button just by the steering wheel in the interior. The second way is going to be to use the smart key system. The third button we can hold down and it'll release the trunk. Or the last way that you can open up this trunk is to go over here to the Camry spelling, right where we have the Y. Just off to the side, there's going to be a little button that you can push and the trunk will open the rest of the way up. The Camry is a mid-size sedan, which does offer a lot of storage space in the trunk here. Over here, we also got our rubber floor mats that are going to go inside the cabin. There's also a trunk rubber mat back here as well. And underneath the floorboard of this trunk, we do have a spare tire and some tools. Another notable thing about this trunk is if you do want to fold down those rear seats, you are going to have to first pull on these little releases over here. Once they're released, you can then go into those rear seats and fold them forward. Next up, we're going to jump inside and talk about some of the interior features. So as usual, we're going to start with the door card. On the door card here, the material is going to be almost entirely all plastics. We have some cup holders down here, one of these 6 interior speakers. auto up-down windows on all 4 corners, window lock, car unlock and lock, as well as our mirror controls. Over here behind the window switches, there is also a little bit of storage down here just for some tiny objects. And also our door handle has this chrome piece which does extend all the way out to almost the very end of this door card. Let's take a look at the seats next, which are Toyota's black fabric seats. Leather seats are not available on the LE models of the Camry, but this is Toyota's black cloth seat, and it does also have these gray inserts on some of the portions that your body is going to be sitting on. The driver's seat has power seat controls with lumbar support over here, but the passenger seat has only manual controls. Before we fully get inside of the Camry, let's talk about some of the buttons that we have over here, starting with this one. This is our automatic high beams button. Next, we have our traction control off. Then we have a release for the trunk and a release for the fuel door. Right below that, there is a little storage cubby over here for you to place some smaller objects. And then again, below all of that, we do have our release for the hood. Just above all of that, we have the tiniest little bit of leather on the driver's side over here, and that's going to be just below this driver's side vent. Also, off to the side over here towards the gauges, we have our odometer trip reset and brightness control for the center gauges. Sitting inside of the Camry LE Hybrid now, we do have a plastic steering wheel with a lot of buttons over here. So our right side is going to control some of our Toyota Safety Sense features. The Camry Hybrid does have Toyota Safety Sense 2.5 Plus, so we have things like full speed radar cruise control and lane depart alert with steering assist. At the very bottom row, we have our audio and multimedia controls, and the left side over here is going to help us control the little 4.2-inch screen that we have between our 2 gauges. Behind the steering wheel, we do have our headlight controls, which this Camry Hybrid does come with automatic headlights. Underneath the steering wheel, there is a release over here, which we can use to adjust the position of our steering wheel. We can move it up, down, in, or out. And behind the steering wheel to the right side, we have our wiper controls as well as our push start button. Let's turn on the Camry Hybrid and see what it looks like. Now that the Camry Hybrid is turned on, one thing that you'll notice is that it's extremely quiet in this interior. If you're unsure of whether or not the Camry Hybrid is turned on, you're going to want to look for this little green ready box over here. If you see the green box that says ready, then that means that the car is turned on and ready to be driven. Over here, we also have our 4.2-inch center screen, which does have some useful information. We can scroll through some of the menus using the steering wheel controls over here on the left side, so we can see different things like how fast we're going, which safety features we have turned on, warning messages, settings, and each one of these menus we can also scroll up and down to see various other things. Next up, let's talk about our center infotainment screen. So the Camrys this year did not get Toyota's new audio and multimedia software, which means that we're stuck on their older software. This means that we do not have wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. You can always plug in to the cable and you still will have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as long as you're plugged in. This is a 7-inch touchscreen, and it does also have some of these shortcut buttons over here. If you don't want to plug in at all, you can still just use regular Bluetooth. We also have a volume knob and a tune knob underneath some of our shortcut buttons. Next, we have these 2 air vents here with our emergency lights. Following that, we have our HVAC controls. The Camrys do have standard dual zone climate control, so every single model except for the TRD is going to have dual zone climate control. This means that you can have a different temperature for the driver and a different temperature for the passenger side. Underneath the climate controls, we have a USB Type A port over here and a 12-volt power outlet over here. Then we have this sliding tray over here, so you can place some smaller objects like your keys over here, or slide this away for some more storage space. Next up, we have our shifter over here, which has park, reverse, neutral, and drive. We also have a sport mode, which we can shift up and down within. This is going to simulate the shifting of gears because we have an eCVT transmission in the Camry Hybrid. We have Eco, Normal, and Sport mode, which are going to change how fast the accelerator pedal is going to respond to your inputs. There is a brake hold button, EV mode button, as well as an electronic parking brake. Off to the side of all of this, we have 2 cup holders, and just behind that, we do have a pretty large center console with a USB Type A and a USB Type C port. Sitting inside of the passenger seat now, the door card is going to be primarily the same as what we see on the driver's side, but the biggest difference here about the passenger seat is that we don't have power seat controls. So down here, we are going to have these manual controls so that you can still adjust your passenger seat. The passenger also gets a little bit more leather on their side than the driver, and they also get this nicer pattern that goes from the HVAC controls all the way into the passenger side vent. Moving up from all of that, this Camry Hybrid in particular did come with this frameless mirror. This frameless mirror is a $175 factory option, and this frameless mirror also comes with these 3 buttons down below, which you can push and connect your garage remotes to. Moving up from that, we do have an emergency SOS button over here, as well as some light controls and a sunglass holder. Taking a look at our visors, the visors here do have a mirror and a light. They can also be swiveled around like this. You do have a little extended portion if you need that extra coverage, but the entire visor itself does not move. Next up, let's check out the rear seats. So hopping inside, I do have the driver's seat in the front set up in the furthest position that it goes forward, and I have the passenger seat set up in the furthest position that it goes back. This right here will give you an idea of how much space we have back here. So with the seat all the way forward, I have plenty of space. With the seat all the way back, you can see how much space you're left with. So this hopefully will allow you guys to see, depending on where you sit, how much space you'll have in the second row. In the second row over here, we do have no USB ports, and we have no air vents in the center. Instead, we have this little storage cubby. But don't worry, the people in the back will still get air coming in from under the seats. We do have these 2 pipes that bring air in from the front to the rear. 2 of the rear seats have these child seat latch points, and if you're not going to use the middle seat, we can also fold this down for 2 extra cup holders and an armrest. There is also going to be a light control switch at the top here for the second row. That's going to do it for this week's overview of the 2023 Toyota Camry LE Hybrid. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel so that we can grow the channel and make more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next week.